Introduction. This past week was our 9th week in physics. Throughout this week, we reviewed questions and concerns we had on topics covered before spring break. Then we continued to work on our group projects as we came down to the last week before it was time to try to soak David. Continue listening to find out what I did and the conclusions I came to from the experience I had throughout the week. What I did. In class on Tuesday, we reviewed graphical and energy analysis as a class. That was given in our quiz over spring break and discussed any questions that the class might have. A lot of us in class have been struggling with VPython, so David took an example of a VPython programming screen and went over it line by line, explaining what each command meant and its effect on the model it produced. David then suggested that we go online and take tutorials that would help us better understand how to use VPython and help us when it comes to creating our 3D models for Project 2. We also had David refilm our launch and flight of our launcher so we could have a better film to analyze in Logger Pro. For class on Thursday, we were given the day to work on our projects if needed or to prepare for our one-on-one interview that would be starting in the following week. My group decided to do testing for Hooke's Law and to work more on our VPython and other graphs that we would need to include in our TIM. Outside of class, my group met up and built a frame to hold our launcher and attached it to a bearing to allow the launcher to move or swivel when launching. We also continued on our own to complete the sections assigned in the TIM, and I started to work on and complete our digital story, which took me forever because my computer and all the other issues I had. What I learned that I should have been writing down the equations we've been using in class in Excel all along to include in my equation editor. I learned that it is only the Logger Pro graphs and Hooke's Law graph and information data I needed to include in the testing and data analysis portion of the TIM, and that the Excel graphs and the energy charts will be used within the 3 phases in the physics portion of the TIM. I learned that I would be in charge of putting together a digital story for Project 2 as a result of wanting to break the silence when the question, "Who will be doing the digital story?" came up. I learned how to track the inner tube within our launcher when collecting data using Logger Pro. I also had David help teach me to better understand how to use Excel to calculate different variables and found out the needed equations to add to my equation editor. I learned while trying to get all my stuff done for Project 2 the importance of regularly defragmentizing your computer to prevent it from freezing up on you. Finally, I learned I should not mess with the settings on my camera, otherwise I might just find out my chip was wiped clean the next time I turn on my computer. Camera. These were definitely hard lessons to learn during crunch mode. What I want or need to learn. I need to learn more about collecting data in Excel and how to use VPython. I need to learn more about the topic I will be debating in a little more than 2 weeks. I also need to learn how my group plans on completing Project 2 in the week that we have left before it's due. I need to learn more about how to adjust the position of objects I put into VPython. I also really need to get caught up and learn how to use Excel more. I need to do my testing for Hooke's Law so I can have the information to include in the TIM. I also want David to teach me how to set up Logger Pro to make sure I'm getting the correct and accurate numbers. I need to figure out how I want to map out our digital story for Project 2. I also am excited to see how our launcher will perform on launch day and how other groups' digital stories turned out. Conclusion. This past week was like a roller coaster ride for me. I started out the week kind of nervous. As we went back to class, I knew I had a lot of questions I needed to ask and concepts I needed to learn as I tried to catch up on things that were covered in class before spring break. I felt really good after class on Thursday after having been able to work with David and get a lot of clarification on topics I was unsure on. I felt I was prepared and ready for the weekend to attack all my assignments for the project. I must have been overly confident because things started to fall apart as my camera and computer both worked hard to keep me from reaching the timely goal I had set for myself to get all my assignments done. Even though this past week was a struggle, I have lived and learned and have taken away many lessons that I hope to keep in mind as I get ready to start Project 3 in this upcoming week.